Hello and happy Monday to all. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes and thank you for joining us at the Nevis Emergency Operations Center EOC today, 6th July 2020, for an update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, here on Nevis. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all and for being with us over the past few months. I also want to thank the media houses for joining us every week. All questions, of course, will be taken after all speakers would have presented. The Nevis COVID-19 briefings will be aired on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on Nevis Television, or you can view the briefings on YouTube or Facebook pages of Nevis Television, Nevis HPU, Nevis Disaster Management Department, and on Von Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m. With us today, we have Mr. Brian Dyer, Director of the Nevis Emergency Operations Center here on Nevis, Superintendent Lyndon David of the Nevis Division, and Dr. Judy Nisbet, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force. I want to say welcome to everyone, and I would like to now invite Mr. Brian Dyer to provide his updates.
All right, good evening all. We start with some weather. A fast-moving tropical wave continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms a few hundred miles east of the Windward Islands. This disturbance has not become any better organized today, and development is becoming unlikely. The wave is forecast to move through the Lesser Antilles on Tuesday and could produce locally heavy rain and gusty winds in some of these islands. Formation chance through 48 hours, low 10%. Formation chance through 5 days, low 10%. This means that we can expect some rain showers later tomorrow and into Wednesday, as some moisture from this tropical wave passes through the Windward Island chain. Some statistics from the COVID-19 Compliance Task Force. They have inspected bakeries and delis 7, banks and financial institutions 13, buses, taxis and ferry 54, game rooms 2, gas stations 9, government buildings and departments 101, laundromats 3, market vendors 4, mechanic shops 17, offices 81, pharmacies 2, restaurants 25, barber shops and salons 21, shops 29, snackets and bars 59, stores 60, street vendors 11, supermarkets 7, funeral homes 2, gyms 3, car washes 3, wholesale 2, radio station and communications 2, manufacturing 10, hotels 3, church visits 94, revisits total 81, and grand total 705 visits. This time I'd like to appeal to our general public to continue wearing our face masks and obeying the COVID-19 protocols as we continue our journey in fighting against this disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer. I would now like to welcome Superintendent David to provide his updates.
Thank you, Nadine. Good afternoon, all. I just want to say that before I go into my presentation, I will give some stats. Thus far, we have conducted 1,049 patrols, both mobile and foot, 91 vehicle checkpoints, 41 arrests for curfew breaches, and 10 were charged, 15 crimes reported, and out of the 15, 14 persons arrested. We have 3,549 vehicles were stopped, and we have 11 persons who were informed that they will be charged for various breaches of the COVID-19 regulations. Just to remind persons of the curfew starts at midnight, and we're expecting that all persons will be at home before that time, and all businesses and enterprises will be closed so that their workers can get home on time and not be rushing, so that at any time there can be a traffic accident that can be fatal, or we can have serious injuries. We're reminding persons that all places of learning shall remain closed until further notice. Also reminding persons that all beaches are still open, but there will be no picnics, no beach parties, and other gatherings that will affect what we are doing in terms of prevent the spread of COVID-19. Persons engaged in sporting activities, we are saying to you that this is allowed for you to practice or train, but there will be no matches, no matches. So therefore, let us have it strict just to training and practicing. And in so doing, let us have social distancing and physical distancing, wearing of masks where possible, and make sure we have proper hand hygiene. I am encouraging our businesses to continue to comply with the COVID task force to ensure that the measures that you're putting in place are in keeping with what is expected, and that you will not close whilst you're seeking to open to continue your business. We have realized that there are a number of persons are organizing events which will require a large gathering of people. We are saying to you that these activities, they will not be permitted, and there are some persons who are already advertising and have not consulted with the police. So we are saying to persons who have done so that these activities, they will not be allowed to continue, because we run the risk of spreading the COVID-19. There will be no bands as well to be allowed to be played. So we're saying to persons, if you have your business and you want to have light musical entertainment, you can use a set and get that done. Just reminding all to continue to wear your face mask in the public spaces, and the persons who are doing so, we want to applaud you to playing your part in preventing the further spread, to prevent the spread of COVID in our federation. And we are saying to you that continue to speak to your loved ones so that they too can be a part of the process. Finally, I take this opportunity to thank God for His continued mercies and blessings on our federation, wherein we see that we are getting things done well, and we want to thank the government for their contribution towards the entire process. The staff of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, Nevis Division, the medical staff, disaster staff, other essential workers in Nevis Division. To you persons who are continue to support and giving us information as to various breaches, we are saying to you, continue to do so. We appreciate your support. And those persons who are continually violating, we are saying to you, look at what we're dealing with and want to be a part of the process to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and to protect our nation. Thank you very much, and may God continue to bless our federation.
Thank you, Superintendent David, for your update. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Judy Nisbet, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force, as she provides us with her updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to everyone. The World Health Organization reports that of July 5th, there were 11,125,245 cases and 528,204 deaths worldwide, with most of the cases being in our region. The USA has recorded the highest number of confirmed cases to date. That is 2,776,000 1,266 confirmed cases, and the highest death toll to date, 129,226 deaths. The USA also continues to record the highest number of cases daily, having recorded over 51,000 cases yesterday. As of July 3rd, the Caribbean region recorded over 57,000 cases. However, there were 25,748 recovered cases and 1,268 deaths. On Nevis, we have recorded 4 cases, of which all have recovered, with our last case detected in April. We have tested 141 persons with 137 negative test results and 4 positive results. We currently have in quarantine 17 persons and have so far released 255 persons from quarantine. Our borders remain closed to commercial flights. However, nationals and residents who have been unable to return to Nevis because of the closure of borders are now able to return. However, there's a process that must be followed, and although I would have explained a bit about it in the last briefing, persons are still not following that protocol, or they aren't aware. We are asking persons not to travel to Nevis without prior approval from the Nevis Task Force and the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority. Do not attempt to enter without prior approval. When you apply, you may not get here on the date you prefer because re-entry is being phased. We cannot accept everyone at the same time. So just to go through the process is as follows. The first thing that must be done is we're asking that persons write an email of application to the Nevis COVID Task Force at the email that is displayed on the screen, COVID-19 Task Force at nia.gov.com. Application should include the following information: your full name as it appears in your passport, your date of birth, gender, your personal email address, your mobile number, occupation, proof of citizenship or residency, your home address here on Nevis, and a telephone number. And if there are any additional family members traveling with you, we need this same information about each family member. Your travel information should include your port of embarkation, your proposed carrier, and your proposed date of travel, so that we have an idea of when you would like to come. If there's any other additional information that you would want us to consider, please include that. The email must be sent if you wish to be considered for re-entry into Nevis. The anticipated time of processing is a minimum of 5 working days, and you will receive an email confirming receipt of your application. Now, this application is taken to the task force, and once the application is approved by the task force and by NASPA, you'll be notified by email and sent a notice of quarantine form to be signed and returned. Once that is signed and returned, you can then start booking for your travel. You're then able to book your travel. Having booked your travel, please send confirmation of intended arrival, whether it's by sea or air. Scan a copy of the passport ID page if that was not already sent in the initial email. And confirm now the port of embarkation, your carrier, and the date that you're going to arrive. And you send these details to the same email address, COVID-19 taskforce@nia.gov.com. Now, what will happen on arrival? Once you arrive in country, there will be health screening at the port of entry. All persons entering Nevis should observe all health and safety protocols, including physical distancing and wearing of masks. And you should disembark your carrier wearing a face mask. All nationals and residents returning will be quarantined for 14 days in a government-assigned quarantine facility. All residents and nationals returning will be quarantined for 14 days in a government-assigned quarantine facility. I repeated that because we have a lot of requests asking to be quarantined at home. As of today, July 6th, that is not the protocol. So following clearance by immigration and customs officials, you'll be transported to the designated quarantine location. And this will be done in an assigned vehicle. So family, friends, private hired vehicles cannot transport you. Each returning national or resident is responsible for meals and incidentals during this 14-day period. And once you apply, you will get more information how that can be done. At the quarantine site, strict quarantine must be observed. This means that you must stay in your allocated space and limit contact with others for 14 days. So no family members, none whatsoever, or other visitors will be allowed. The penalty for risking the lives of others and breaking quarantine is serious. Should you breach or violate the public health quarantine regulations number 2 of 2020 regarding quarantine and isolation, you shall face a fine not exceeding $8,000. While in quarantine, you will be monitored periodically by health officials for signs and symptoms of COVID-19. If showing any signs or symptoms, you will be sampled for a COVID-19 test. If you do not show any signs or symptoms, after 14 days, you will be sampled for a COVID-19 test. So having spent 14 days in quarantine, you will then be sampled for COVID-19 test. Each returning national resident is responsible for the cost of the COVID-19 test. If you test negative, you will be permitted to return to your residence, and we expect that all persons must continue to wear their mask in public once they are released from quarantine. They must observe the hygiene protocols of cough etiquette, sneezing into your elbow or into a tissue. You must wash your hands often with soap and water, and if that's not available, to use a hand sanitizer. And you must continue to observe physical distancing of 6 feet. If, however, you test positive, You'll be placed in isolation for at least 14 more days. This can extend to more than 14 days, and you'll be monitored by health officials continuously. So I hope that persons are a little more clear of what they need to do to be able to return, and that persons will comply. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Nesbitt, for your update. Now, I'd like to take questions from our media persons.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nick Washington, St. Nevis, the Server newspaper. My question is to Dr. Julie Nesbitt. She spoke about persons returning to the island, and she made it quite clear on what the rules are. My question is, has persons made any attempt to re-enter Nevis without obtaining the proper permission? If so, what was the outcome of that?
I welcome Dr. Judy Nesbitt to respond.
Thank you, Ms. Washington, for that question. I can recall one attempt to enter without prior permission, and that aircraft was sent back to its point of origin.
Thank you. My next question is also to Dr. Nesbitt. My second question is with the lapse of the COVID regulations and with the recent imported case of COVID in St. Kitts, how concerned are you that we will get a second wave of COVID?
We know that it's likely with pandemics that there are a number of waves. We have gone through the first wave, and we expect that we will have a second wave. Our next case most likely will be an imported case. And therefore, this is why we are going through all of the measures of quarantining persons who are coming in at this time and ensuring that we can control the spread of COVID within Nevis. However, like I said, I am concerned that we would get a second wave, but we ask persons to prepare for the second wave in terms of continuing to follow the public health measures that we have been talking about for so long. All of what we have been talking about, such as hand hygiene, covering your cough and sneeze, and wearing your mask. We notice that a lot of persons are not necessarily wearing their masks, and a number of persons are also not observing the advice of staying 6 feet away from other persons. So if these are followed, then our second wave will not be as bad. We were fortunate and we were able to control the first wave, and therefore we hope that if persons follow these public health measures that we have been preaching, that our second wave will be just as mild. Thank you.
Last question, Dr. Nesbitt. When it comes to quarantine and persons in quarantine, are they allowed to mingle with other persons in quarantine?
No, I think I made that clear that they ought to stay into the space that's allocated for them and not to mingle. Of course, they can go outside of their rooms, and if there's someone in close proximity to them, they need to stay 6 feet away from that person. They need to wear their masks. So all of these things we tell them once they're in quarantine. So they're not allowed to mingle and, play dominoes and play cards and so forth. And it's not a communal type of arrangement. Each person has their own space, their own self-contained room with all that they need So there's no need to be going from room to room. So we certainly try to let them know that this is not acceptable, and we also ensure that the area is secured. There is police presence at all times. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monique, and thank you, Dr. Nesbitt. That's all your questions for today, Monique?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all of our presenters and media houses that would have joined us today. And I would like to remind persons to follow the instructions given to help protect us here in the Federation and here on Nevis. And I just want to remind you of some of those measures. Please wash your hands with soap and water often. Cover your cough and sneeze. Avoid touching your face, such as your eyes, nose, and mouth, with unclean hands. Disinfect touch areas and surfaces often. Please eat your vegetables and your fruits so you can stay strong. Drink plenty of water and get lots of exercise. Continue or start to practice physical distancing, that is 6 feet away from the next person. Continue or start over to use your face mask or face covering of some sort when you're in public space. And of course, to limit contact, please stay at home when you don't need to move about. Again, the hotline numbers are 311 or 661-5051. Again, I would like to remind persons to sign up for the Nevis Health app. This is a self-monitoring tool where you can report any signs or symptoms of COVID-19 that you think you may have, and you'll be guided accordingly by this health app. The health app can be downloaded at kn.unhin.org. I want to say thank you to the Nevis Disaster Management, Nevis Television, Caribbean Digital Displays Limited, Cornerstone, members of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force for making this briefing possible. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and I want to thank you for joining us on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. for another edition of the Nevis COVID-19 EOC briefing here on Nevis Television. And again, you can view these briefings on Vaughn Radio or listen to the briefing on Vaughn Radio at 1 p.m. Thank you for viewing, and please do stay safe.